Welcome, everyone. And we're here today with the Healing You method with Gloria. And Gloria, I was thinking today about when we're on this journey and growing and changing our belief systems. What do you do when you start to, I guess, like feel a little bit overwhelmed or start to feel exhausted because you're really stretching yourself and pushing to keep going?
Yeah,
To
well,
help.
that's something that will happen quite commonly. In fact, if it's not happening, then I would actually challenge your experience of whether you are actually driving for what you would really like in your life. Because if you're just going along, sailing along free, then you're probably, I don't know. My experience is that when I'm actually taking an action that's towards something that I would love to experience in my life, and I just love to experience it because I'd love to experience it, not because it's going to get me anything. That's really a key, that you love something.
Mm, mm.
And when I take an action towards creating a life with that in it, then that's what triggers my fundamental beliefs. In fact, as I've been growing, and we're always evolving and growing and changing in life, and as I've been reaching out and I've been engaging with other professionals to support me on my journey, because I'm at the point, I'm not wanting to do everything all by myself. I'm growing a team of professionals that can support um, creating the work in the world that I'm passionate about. And one of them, the question that they asked for an intake was, what's your biggest fear?
Mm.
And that kind of really brought me up against, what is my biggest fear? Am I able to name this? And instantaneously, when it came up for me, I had this shame reaction, which lets me know that I still have some identity with it, that there's different layers or tangled threads of my past that kind of creep up on me. And that's okay. They're always going to be there. It's when I notice them, what do I do about it? What action do I take?
Yeah, so yeah, I'd really like to hear a bit more about that piece. Like when you notice that fear coming up, what do you do? What do you choose to do?
What I chose to do was I chose to be honest,
Mm.
because what the fear would have me do would hide, to pretend, to do my best to either portray whatever I thought the other person wanted me to do or thought I should do, that would control my behavior, because I would want to be like a chameleon that way. I'd want to please them in order to stay safe. Because my biggest fear that I've had all of my entire life is that the belief that I'm stupid. And as soon as I said, well, my belief is to believe that I'm stupid, and I thought, well, that's stupid. And I started laughing because I recognized how it was really wanting to drive my behavior, to erase it, come up with something else that sounded better. I mean, what is that thinking right there? Why would any fear be better than another fear? I mean, that in itself is kind of crazy making. And so, transparency, vulnerability, and honesty, those are the tendrils of my heart that's beating, that's saying, be you, be real, be honest, and name that. And when I did that, I mean, because the constriction's so tight when that comes in, my God, I don't want anyone to think I'm stupid.
Right.
It's
And what
like, well,
about, when you say that about being honest, I'm just thinking from my own experience, we don't have a lot of opportunities to be supported and in looking at ourselves honestly or looking at the situation honestly. So I would imagine, well, for me, it can be challenging to do because our brain is so good at having a bias to not look at it and go towards those beliefs driving you again, as you mentioned.
yeah. And so it is. I want to acknowledge it is a journey. It is an experiential journey, that the more you practice paying attention with intention. And so my intention for years, back in 2006, when my son was just a little guy, and I was learning nonviolent communication and interpersonal neurobiology, and my whole passion was, my intention was for heart connection first, before strategies would come in. to have that heart connection, that resonance, that felt sense of being joined with another. And that intention is what brings me back to my own heart. Because until I have that heart connection within myself with that kind of transparency and honesty, I'm not really even who I am. I'm pretending, so, and that in itself is inauthentic. That's the false self, if you will.
Right,
And
right.
so when we really desire something, and of course my child ignited that desire within me. If not me, then who? And it's like, well, what is love? Unconditional love, it's unconditional. It chooses the relationship over and over again. And so I needed to experience how important that was with my child, and then have the courage to allow another being to get to know me in that vulnerable way, and to discover that that dispels that cloak of darkness. When there's no judgment. It's like, oh, well, we're having a human experience. That's a big part of our human experience. And that's okay. It doesn't have to drive your next action step. And you can falter and you can come back. It's not about being perfect. It's about being who you really are.
Yeah, some compassion for ourselves of being human.
Yeah. And that experience of having that with another being that's genuine is such an antidote. Because
Yes.
that is what you were saying. It's very rare in our society to
Yeah,
experience that in life.
yeah.
And we need that. It's
We
who
do.
we're here to
We
be.
do. I'm so glad that you have this work out in the world, and we have this opportunity to have this journey and be with others, to have that support to
Yeah.
grow. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Gloria.
Yeah. Thank you, Gail.